Welcome. Out of Continues, episode 301. Coming at you right now. This is a podcast posted up every other Monday in which we talk about video games related topics. I'm your host, Staffa. And this week, to wrap up the year, I have Kevin.
Hello. How's it going?
All right. How you doing, Kevin?
Pretty good.
How's your year?
It was a interesting year. A lot of ups and downs.
Well, hopefully there's more ups than downs.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, we're gonna go into more detail on the year in video games. Um, and that's gonna be our main topic. After that, quick announcement and some news. But before we start going any further, I just don't want to do a quick disclaimer that all opinions expressed on the show are of our own. My opinion is owned by me. Kevin's opinion is owned by him, not representative of our employers, past, present, or future. Hashtag promote Staffa, please? Question mark. So, anyways, let's start talking about the year in gaming. Like in the past, when I used to be able to play a lot more games, I would do like a top 10 games of the year and or at least top 5 games of the year. I don't even think I have a game of the year this year because I haven't been playing much at all. But how about you? Do you even have a game of the year, Kevin?
I don't think I've really played many games from this year actually.
I
I have
started a few.
I've started a few, but I don't think I'm looking through a list right now, and I don't think I've finished any game that's come out this year.
Yeah,
I mean,
me
there are
neither.
quite a few good ones that I have been playing. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can name my own personal game of the year.
Yeah, I started playing more games recently, like the past couple of months, but I haven't had time to finish any of them yet. Like I started playing Hellblade, Bury Me My Love. I started playing PUBG.
Mm-hmm.
I died from jumping out of my van.
Yeah, in PUBG there's more death than wins.
Yeah, I thought I was smooth. I was like, oh, someone probably sees me off in the horizon driving this van. I'm gonna like jump out of here and like do like a military roll. Nope.
Nope.
No, I just like flew into a fence and died.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lesson learned.
Yep. And I got a stack of games behind me at my PS4 that need to be played, and I have a stack of games on my Steam that need to be played.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I don't have a game of the year. Here, I'll just name a game of the year right now: Super Mario Odyssey. There we go.
Oh man. If we're just uh that's gonna be hard because I guess the closest one for me would probably be Divinity Original Sin 2. But
Okay. I mean, you played a bit of that game though, right?
I mean I don't know how far I am into that. I'm actually 55 hours into it.
Oh, so you're like 2% into it, right?
Yeah, we're about like maybe a quarter of the way through. Somewhere between a quarter and halfway, I think, is where we are. But yeah, if I had to name any game as my game of the year, it would probably be that one.
Mhm. Yeah, I can't name a game of the year, unfortunately. But anyways, let's start looking at this Wikipedia page on this year. Before it goes into games, there's like events. Um, I mean, I'm trying to see if there's
Definitely
like
all the
any.
major stuff like E3 and Gamescom,
Yeah,
and
s-
PAX.
certain companies acquiring other companies.
Hmm.
ZeniMax bought bought something that I never heard of. Um, IO Interactive uh, became independent, no longer owned by Square Enix, and I believe they took Hitman with him. And I think I hear my voice coming from your end. Um. Oh, the writer from Valve announced that he left
Yeah.
this year. That was a thing. EA purchased some studios and also closed um Visceral.
Mm.
IGN bought Humble Bundle. Yeah, that's pretty much most of the events that happened this year. Um, but let's start talking about the games. So January, we had like the main games that came out were Resident Evil 7, Biohazard, um, and Neo. I completely forgot Gravity Rush 2 came out.
Oh. Yeah, I forgot about that too.
Yeah, like that like flew under everyone's radar. Like no one even mentioned that during like end of year stuff, and like I'm on the wiki page right now. It looks like it got good scores. Like the lowest score on here is a 7.5 from Game Informer out of 10. But
Mm.
like and also 7.5 out of 10 out from Polygon. But like the rest are like nines and 8 point somethings. So I completely forgot that game came out. Um yeah, that exists. And yeah, I don't see anything else worth talking about from January. Do you?
No.
Yeah, so like Neo, from my here is like really good, but like unfortunately came out so early in the year, no one remembers it.
Yeah.
And I watched a coworker play. So a lot of us went over to this coworker's place one day. He was playing Resident Evil 7. Well, not him specifically. He had somebody else play Resident Evil 7, and I was basically like backseat playing it
Mm.
because they're goofballs that have no idea what they're doing. And I'm like, yo, look, down. No, the other down. Over to the right. See that thing that's sparkling? Get that item. And yeah, I didn't want to play myself because I at that time it's been forever since I played a shooter with a gamepad, and your bullets count in that game, and I don't want to like waste bullets on trying to get headshots. So I was like, I'll let these guys play while I just tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but apparently it's really good. A lot of people really like it. On in February, uh, Fire Emblem Heroes came out on mobile devices. I tried playing that. It was decent. I mean, the artwork looked great.
Mm-hmm.
Did you try it at all?
Did not.
I didn't really get too far into it. I was a bit busy at the time. Um, For Honor came out, and people I remember people really liked that game, but then that like suffered from coming out so early in the year that it just disappeared into obscurity.
Yeah.
Um, Anything else you see here that's like looks like it's worth mentioning?
And
Oh, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Horizon Zero Dawn and Hollow Knight were both pretty acclaimed video games that came out.
Yeah, I keep hearing about Hollow Knight. What exactly is Hollow Knight? It looks like a
It's
2D game.
if I remember correctly, it's a action platformer.
Hmm.
Um, I don't remember. I can't remember if it was like a roguelike-ish type thing that everyone seemed to.
Says it's a Metroidvania game.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, and that got pretty good reviews. It's actually something that it's on my wish list that I'd like to play at some point.
Maybe I should put that on mine as well. Hollow Knight. There we go. It's already been on my wish list. Too late. Um, yeah. So Hollow, I know like Horizon and Zelda came out like a week apart or something like that. Because a lot
Um,
of people were talking about them like around the same time.
yeah, it came out first week of March. Legend of Zelda,
Okay.
which I now own, but I don't have a Switch.
Oh, congrats on owning the game.
Yep, I bought the game from someone because he was selling it for half the price of buying it new, and since he doesn't play it, he has it. But he, so I bought it from him, and then figured I'd get the game early so that whenever I do end up getting a Switch, I can play it right away.
Hmm.
I have the game and no Switch.
And then Near Automata came out. Um, and I own that right now. I played like 5 hours of that, and I was like, "Oh, this is not bad." And I
Yeah,
hear that like you have to beat the game like 4 times, to like really get that like aha moment with the story.
yeah. So I haven't played it, but what I have heard is yeah, you do play the game multiple times, and it's from a different character's perspective.
No, the second time is from another character's perspective, and then so there's like course A, which is the first game playthrough, then course
Mm.
B, which is like the other character that's with the main character.
So there's like 2B as the main character that you play as
Yeah.
first, and then what was it, A2 or something? I forgot what her name was, but
No, it's a guy.
oh, it's a guy. Okay,
Yeah, the second one's a guy. 2B is the girl.
yeah,
And then the other one's a guy. And then like you play course C, it's like you play as 2B again, but it's like a completely different story.
mm,
Like it's not the same events again. And I think that course C has like two different endings or something like that.
I see.
So there's like three different um courses, but then you have to like get four endings. I don't know.
Mm.
Either way, like from what I'm hearing, it's really good, and I should get back to it. But also in March there was that big flop called Mass Effect.
Yeah, I remember playing the first 10-ish hours of it, and I was not really drawn in. I don't think the first 10 hours were very good, but it is sad that seems like majority of people think that the rest of the game also isn't that great.
Yep, it's unfortunate. It's been a bad year for EA.
Yeah.
Um, and also Super Mario Run came out on Android this year.
Mario.
Super Mario running from the border. Where's his green card?
Yeah.
I'm terrible. I don't see anything else in March worth talking about. Oh yeah, I Am Setsuna, which was like hyped, or I don't think it. I think that came out last year. It's just Nintendo Switch. Never mind. Yeah, I think it came out last year. Yeah, a lot of these are Nintendo Switch games. All right, April. What came out in April?
Um,
Persona 5, which like
yeah,
people like, but I don't know anything about it.
I've never played any of the Persona games actually.
I played some Persona 4.
Mm.
Got nowhere in it. Got like a couple hours in, which is like 0.1% into the game. Um, let's see. Oh, that Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale game. Voodoo Vince remastered. Doesn't really seem like a very eventful month.
Yeah, one game that did come out earlier in that month, the Sexy Brutale, that actually looks like an interesting game. I think it's you are at a masquerade party or something like that, and you're trying to solve these puzzle mystery things, but it's really open-ended and freeform, so it doesn't really direct you on like it's not like a linear game. It's very unscripted mystery, murder mystery type of adventure game, which I thought looked really cool.
Mm-hmm. Dawn of War 3 came out.
Yeah.
All right. May. May the force be with you. um, let's see. Prey came out, and a lot of people talked about that for like a week.
It's a good game. I haven't finished it, but I like it so far. I just got distracted with other games.
Yeah. There's
Can't
so many
believe.
games this year. That's a theme of this year that there's so many games, and like for me, my theme was I had no time to play any of them.
Yeah.
Strafe came out, which is that roguelike that's inspired by games like Doom and Quake. Like it has that old graphical
Hmm.
look to it. You know which game I'm talking about? I think you're looking it up.
No, I'm not looking it up.
Uh,
I've already I haven't played it, but I'm pretty familiar with it.
okay, yeah, it's on my wish list of games to get. I can see that being like a humble bundle game sometime soon.
Yeah.
Well, though it was on the humble monthly bundle like last month, and uh di- I opted out from that month because I was like, because I think it was H1Z1 that was the game that they showed during the preview, and I was like, I don't want H1Z1. I'll opt out.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
Strafe was on there, and I was like, I don't know. Do I really want that whole bundle just for Strafe? Nah.
Yeah.
Um, Injustice 2 came out, which I've heard like amazing things about it. Like it has a really good single player. Um, which they're still adding more characters to that game. They're still updating it. Um, let's
Oh,
see.
there's a couple of good VR games that came out, I think, around this time. Did we miss one in April?
Maybe.
Trying to think. Oh no, it was March. Robo Recall came out this year. That was a fun VR game. And then Star Trek Bridge Crew also came out in May. Both are excellent VR games.
Star Trek Crew looks pretty cool, but you need one, you need VR, two, you need friends that also have VR.
Well, you can actually play single player missions, but yeah, it's much better with other people. But they do have a mode where you can play single player and you just take over the station that uh, is whatever you need find your control on. But you can also give orders out to the AI, and they'll do the things. But if you need to like take control of the ship itself and steer it in a very particular path, then you can always just jump into the helmsman's position. Um,
But
but yeah,
that
it
takes
can.
away the immersion of like actually being in those specific spots.
Yeah, it does take away quite a bit, but it's I do enjoy Bridge Crew. I think it's I do wish that they had a little bit more variety in there. The main campaign missions are fun, but once you get into like the sandbox mode, it seems like there's just not a lot of stuff that can happen. So you end up just doing a lot of the same repetitive 6 or 7 things over and over again. But it's a good game. I think it's if they just added more content to it, that would have been best.
I mean, like playing single player sounds more like it would be similar to FTL,
Yeah, kind of.
which, well, yeah, kind of. I mean, like obviously different perspective and everything, but
Well, I mean, like
still.
even the because it's more um, you're not really controlling uh, weapon cooldowns and things. I mean, it has a similar idea, but you're also not going through like there's no goal really, other than like if you're playing one of the missions.
Mhm.
But yeah, it has a similar feel.
Also, it came out in May was Friday the 13th. The game finally came out,
Hmm.
and like those, like it was that and another game like Dead by Daylight or something like that.
Yeah, Dead
Um,
by Daylight is pretty similar.
like there was a few of those games that all came out at the same time, and from what I heard about all those games, like it's fun playing them for like an hour, but then after that, it's the game doesn't change. Let's go to June. We got Tekken 7, we have Dirt 4, um, Arms for the Switch, which from what I'm hearing, people are actually liking that game. I when I first saw it, I was like, that game is not going to be an actual game. It's going to be a tech demo, but it
Yeah.
sounds like it's actually pretty good. Um, Trying to see what else is worth mentioning on this list of games. Crash Bandicoot, Insane Trilogy. I have that. It's Crash Bandicoot.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on.
Yep.
July. Um, Pyre came out. Man, I don't know if I'm even gonna play Pyre because there's just so many games to get around to, and I really like Super Giant Games. You know, I loved Bastion, and Transistor was pretty good too.
Mm.
But it's like I would like to get around to playing Pyre, but just my list of games have become so long.
Yeah, it's a lot of commitment just this year alone.
Yeah. Um, Splatoon 2 came out. A lot of people like that. Um, I'm looking at the next month now. Tacoma came out. Tacoma
Another
Matata.
guy.
Isn't that the game that's by the
It's by the Gone Home developer.
yeah. Big frown on my face. I didn't like Gone Home at all.
I've heard Tacoma is actually pretty good.
Well,
Um,
the people said the same thing about Gone Home though.
yeah, and it's similar in style because you're kind of like it's like an adventure story game. But I'm probably gonna give Tacoma a try at some point in time.
Nidhogg 2 just like came out that month.
Yeah, I don't even like remember hearing about it. It was just released.
Yeah, in fact I didn't know Nidhogg 2 came out until like last month. I saw it on Steam. I was like, "Oh, since when was there a Nidhogg 2?" Lawbreakers came out in August and that became a huge flop. Flippity flop.
Yeah, forgot about that game actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about it multiple times on the show because uh, Cliff Blazinski likes to get interviews like every other week to talk about how he's going to bring Lawbreakers back.
Uh,
And Yeah, he's like, oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. This is what went wrong with Lawbreakers. It's like, man, Lawbreaker, stop trying to make Lawbreakers a thing. You're not gonna make Lawbreakers a thing. Um, Absolver.
That's an interesting game. If I was more into fighting games, I would totally give that one a try.
Is that what that is? A fighting game?
Like, from what I heard, it's like an open world fighting game. So it's kind of like when you get into combat situations, it goes into a very fighting game esque style. But then out of combat, it's an open world RPG thing.
Mm. I'm looking at the wiki. It has like a couple of gifs of the fighting.
Yeah, it might be something down your alley or right up your alley, but yeah, I don't play very many fighting games, so it's not something that I will be playing anytime soon. But it does look really cool.
I know a lot of people at work really like Sonic Mania.
Yeah, I have people that I know who like the Sonic games, liked Sonic Mania.
Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. That I was hyped when I first saw that game, and
Yeah,
I saw people at work playing it on their Switches.
yeah, that one actually looks really good. I've heard good things about that.
Um, Uncharted Lost Legacy. I have that. It's behind me.
I haven't even played Uncharted 4 yet.
Same. I was when I got my PS4, it came with Uncharted 4.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't start. I started playing it immediately, but I I had a smaller TV at the time.
Mm,
Now I finally have a bigger TV, so now I need to get into playing it.
yeah,
But I'm trying to like get through Hellblade so that I can like I need to get through a short game so that I can like start being like, all right, there's one game off the list.
yeah.
So let's start getting through the rest of these games. Stop playing Hearthstone. Um, Knack 2 was a thing in September.
I completely did not even hear about that game because I thought not very many people liked the first Knack game.
Yeah, like no one liked the first Knack game, but like the second one looks like it got better reviews.
Mm,
I mean, not like great reviews, but it got
better.
decent. I mean, it has a 69 out of 100 on Metacritic,
Mm,
so that's all right. Though, I mean, like out of these like PS4 games that like came out of nowhere and everyone completely forgot, I'd probably try to get Gravity Rush 2. Like
yeah,
I like the first Gravity Rush game. Well, I didn't get too much into it because it just seemed like it was like the same thing over and over again. But yeah, I'm definitely not interested in Knack 2.
yeah.
Destiny 2 came out, which I
Uh,
played like an hour of that, and then I was
yeah,
like, I'll
I
play
have.
this on PC, and then I didn't even play it on PC.
Yeah, I have some mixed feelings about Destiny.
Um, the Dishonored DLC came out, Death of the Outsider.
Yeah, I still need to finish the main game.
Yeah, I've heard lots of really good things about the Dishonored 2, which that came out last year, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it. It it does a. I think it basically does what a lot of the things that the first game does, but it polishes it a lot, polishes it up a little bit more. So it feels
Mhm.
combat feels smoother. A lot of the abilities that you have just seem to work cleaner. Um, so I do like everything that they've put into the game. It's just a matter of I think I was stuck at one part and kind of got discouraged and then stopped playing for a while, and then another game came out, and then I just haven't played it since. But I do like it. It's a very good game.
Looks like SteamWorld Dig 2 came out. Uh, Total War Warhammer 2 came out.
Mm.
Um, Cuphead, lots of people.
Ooh, yeah, that's a game I want to try.
Yeah. Lots of people still talk about Cuphead. And for the first time, Star Fox 2 finally came out on the SNES Classic.
Yep.
I haven't played that. I've heard coworkers say, eh.
Hmm.
Like once they actually got around to playing it, they're like, eh. It's not bad, but it's not good either.
Hmm.
Um, let's look at October now. Uh, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser Minions that like slid out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, no one's talking about it because no one is playing 3DS anymore because they're playing the Switch now. Um, oh, A Hat in Time, like that game looks pretty good. Like it's been getting good reviews. It's supposed to be like inspired by like Super Mario Sunshine.
Hmm.
And like it's on PC. So like if for people that are only PC players and they're looking for a platformer, uh like that's a thing. Um Middle Earth Shadow of War, which I played like an hour or so of that. And I I bought it like on release and I was like, this is really fun. But at that time, we were in crunch
Hmm.
and I had no life. I had no time to play games. I got home and I was too tired to play games. I was like, I really want to play more Shadow of War. Um, Evil Within 2 came out, and like I've heard from coworkers, it's actually really good. So this seems like a decent year for horror games at least. You know, we have Evil Within 2, Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
I mean Outlast 2 also came out, but I didn't hear anything good about that or any I didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah, I mean,
Um
I think it just released and then I didn't hear much about it afterwards.
yeah, it just came out.
Hmm.
That's so many games came out this year
Yeah.
and they got overshadowed by something else. Um the South Park RPG with the superheroes and the stupid title. That came out. You're not gonna get me this time. um, the Mummy Demastered game, which I heard it's okay.
Mm.
Made by um Way Forward. Like it's based off of that bad Mummy movie that came out this year,
Ugh, yeah.
but it's better than that movie. Super Mario Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Origins, Wolfenstein 2, all coming out on the same day. The what was people calling that? The game apocalypse?
Mm.
Because like those are three big games with like great
Yeah.
reviews, and then like the week prior to that, uh, um, middle or a week or two prior, Shadow of War came out. So like it was like the game apocalypse.
Yeah.
Oh, and to top that off, Bubsy the Woolies Strike Back came out. So we had so many games to play.
Yep. All the best.
To top off that game apocalypse. Um oh, and then like the next week Call of Duty World War II came out, which I have, and I haven't even booted it up.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I deleted it on Steam. Let me see. Yes, it's no longer installed. I had it installed at one point, but then I uninstalled it because I
Mm,
wanted to reinstall Doom
yeah.
because I was like, I want to play Doom. Oh, I don't have it installed. Now I need to make room on my PC. Okay, now Doom's on here, but I don't have time to play again because it took forever to download. Um, let's see. A bunch of stuff coming out for Nintendo Switch on November.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I don't know. It all looks like a blur to me. Nothing's. Oh, that Animal Crossing mobile game came out, which like a bunch of people at work were talking about it for a week and then stopped talking about it
Yeah,
after that week.
I played it. I think it's a good little time waster, but I do wish that they included a little bit more, um, less of like a typical mobile game timed type of thing, uh, where you end up. I mean, you don't really have to pay for things to increase the speed that they're crafted, but it seems like there's just a lot of that. Um, and I mean, I it was one of those games where I would go to it once every couple days,
Hmm.
but now it's been maybe a few weeks since I last touched it.
And let's look at this month, the month of December. Um, looks like mainly ports. Oh, Okami HD came out. When did that come out? That
Uh,
just like came out of the blue.
yeah, there was not much news about that, but
Yeah, so that came out like a couple of weeks ago. Okami HD on PC, PS4, Xbox One.
you know,
Um, some VR games. Um, yeah, I mean that seems like the majority of this year. I mean, we probably missed something here or there, but that don't really matter. The Dream Daddy game came out somewhere.
uh, yeah.
um. Oh, I guess we skipped Hellblade. Hellblade came out sometime. Hellblade came out when I was in the hospital.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, the Secret of Edith Finch. The Edith Finch came out in April. What remains of Edith Finch?
Yeah, that game I'm looking forward to playing. I think it's on sale right now, but um, yeah, I do want to play that.
Yeah, I already own that. Just comes down to me playing it. But yeah. Um, I mean, like we kept on saying a bunch of times, this was a jam-packed year of gaming.
Yeah.
There are definitely games that's come out this year that I will never get to play because there's just so many. I don't have the time.
Yeah.
Don't have the energy. I need to get back to all these games. I need orcs to yell at me, call me a man swine. I need, I need to finish Hellblade. I need to do this and that. I need. But yeah. Overall thoughts of the year. I think it was like great year in gaming.
Yeah.
I just wish I played it.
Yeah, I feel the same. I haven't been playing very many games this year as well. And all the games that I have been playing are actually old games because I I don't know if I've mentioned on the podcast before, but recently I was going through all the Mass Effect games again, at least like the trilogy. Um, so most of my time was spent with that and some older games, maybe from last year that I never got around to. And like I mentioned earlier in this episode, the only game that I've really put a lot of time into from this year is um, Divinity, and I played quite a bit of Prey, but not finished yet. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, so there was a lot of games this year that I want to eventually get around to, but they're just gonna have to go into my backlog, and that's the other issue is that my backlog has kind of been my focus this year, and so all the games that I want to play from this year are now just added to that.
Mhm. This is like one of the worst hobbies ever.
But
It's so time consuming, so expensive,
yeah,
and there's just so much to do.
yeah, but it was a good year overall.
Yes.
This was probably one of the best years in gaming in recent history.
Yeah, some might argue it's one of the best years in gaming ever.
Yeah, it was a lot of good games out.
I wish I had an opinion on that because I have no idea if it is. All right. So
There were some downsides to this year as well. Um, I think
yeah,
despite the fact that it was a very good year, there are some things uh, that kind of added some negative points to this year.
yeah. Like I forgot to mention Battlefront 2.
Yeah, so a couple big things being the whole loot box system debacle of this year.
Hmm.
I mean, the big contenders for that whole issue were uh, Battlefront 2 from EA and then Shadow of War. Um, and I think both of those games got a lot of uh, backlash from the community because of their inclusion of uh, somewhat pay to win and just loot boxes in general. And the big issue, I think, it was first with Shadow of War. That was like the first big controversy in the
Yeah.
whole loot box issue, and because you're paying for a $60 game that's single player, and then on top of that they have loot box items that they claimed you didn't really need in order to enjoy the game. But from what I've heard, that's not actually the case. I think from what I've heard that the game gets more tedious as it progresses, so that by the end of the last half towards the end of the game, it actually you have to do a lot more grinding, or you pay for the loot boxes to get the orcs.
I don't know, I'll have to see for myself. Like I've seen reviews say that they basically said avoid the loot box system because otherwise you're gonna be making the game too easy for you.
Oh,
But I'll see for myself. I'll
yeah,
reserve my opinion until I get to that point.
yeah. I mean, if you end up playing it before I do, let me know what you think. I don't know if I'm gonna play it anytime soon. It might be another year or so before I pick it up, but yeah, let me know how that goes.
Mhm.
And then obviously the biggest one was Battlefront, just because that's a
That's the sound that people were hearing as those loot boxes are dropping.
yeah. So the big issue with that was it's pay to win. At least initially when they introduced the loot box system, because it's primarily a multiplayer game, multiplayer shooter, and a lot of the upgrades that you could buy were just upgrades for your ships and your people that just made them stronger.
What do you
Like
mean? What do you mean you're people?
your whatever characters you play.
You're, that's racist.
You know what
What,
I
what
meant.
what do you mean you people?
But yeah, so you get these. There's like a card system, kind of like the burn cards in Titanfall or something similar, where you get cards that give you upgrades or just boost your damage output or your health or your shields. So people who unlocked more loot box content would be stronger. So anyone who paid more would have the ability to access those sooner. And I think that also brings in the whole issue with barrier to entry. Like if you don't end up buying the game until it goes on sale or a year later or whenever, if you don't buy the game immediately, the longer you wait, the worse it's going to be for you, because everyone by that point is going to be stronger and have more experience and have just more loot box content that makes them stronger. And so you get thrown into these games with stronger people, and it just doesn't make the game fun for someone who's new to it. It's not really
Yeah.
balanced.
It's as if the game is like a uh online Star Wars themed casino.
Yeah.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. Yeah, so I mean there was that, and I think because of all the backlash, EA did say that they made some changes, but I don't think all the changes were good. For example, they reduced the amount of uh, points required to unlock some of the high level characters like Darth Vader by 75%, but then they also reduced how many points you get from completing the campaign by 75%.
Yeah.
I don't know if they affected the number of points you get for multiplayer matches, but then they also said that they were going to disable some of the like whatever crystals you get um by you pay for them and then you get crystals, but I think they said that they were going to reintroduce them later.
Do you remember coming out of E3 how excited everybody was for this game because EA was like, "Oh, there's gonna be no season pass for the game. You'll get
Yeah, and
all the content." And they're like, "Oh, that's awesome! Yay! You buy the game and that's it."
yeah, and like that was the big thing because a lot of people were frustrated with the first Battlefront game just because it didn't have much content in it. And so a lot of people gave some feedback and criticism to the first game, saying, that we're paying $60 and all it is just this repetitive multiplayer and there's nothing more to do. And then they made a point to announce that the second game would have its own campaign, um, and that they would fix all the issues and not have a season pass. And so from the beginning of this year, it looked like Battlefront 2 was going to be great.
Yeah. And like
Then,
considering what they did with like Titanfall and then Titanfall 2, like well with Titanfall there was a season pass, but then eventually they got rid of it and they're like, "Hey, all the content is free." And
yeah,
then with Titanfall 2, like they didn't have a season pass, like all they just kept on adding content. So because of that, it's like, "Oh, EA gets it."
yeah.
Nope, they don't.
Well, I mean, I personally don't have an issue with loot boxes. I mean, sorry, not loot boxes. Sorry, season passes and expansion stuff. Like, I don't have an issue with that. I just the loot boxes are an issue, and then they also made a point about having a campaign story in this game, but I've heard that it's really bad. So I don't really know if
I heard
they
it's like
probably
4 hours long.
it's short, but then also they like from what I've heard, it's just basically it's extremely linear and the story doesn't really make much sense, and they just throw in characters just because they're famous characters in the
Yeah,
game.
it's like, okay, here's the Han Solo level, here's the Luke Skywalker level,
Yeah. So
and
like
also like all the story beats are super predictable because like as soon as you start playing the game, the main character, she's part of the Empire, she's evil, but then like you could totally see it coming like 3 miles away that she's gonna do a face turn and become a good guy.
yeah. Yeah, so it's unfortunate that they only put this campaign in because people were complaining about it and they didn't put any effort into it. And I think if you look at what Respawn did with Titanfall, I think they did an excellent job because the first game had that exact same criticism. Like it was just multiplayer. There was no full single player campaign,
Yeah.
and like the multiplayer stuff just got a little repetitive. So the Battlefront and Titanfall had the exact same criticisms
Hmm.
for the most part, and then Respawn put effort into the campaign in Titanfall 2. They fixed all the multiplayer stuff, and they actually put the effort into that.
Yeah, and
And
it was a short campaign as well. It was like 6 hours, but it was an amazing campaign.
yeah,
It was like one of the best first person shooter campaigns I've played in a really long time.
yeah. And then DICE had that same opportunity with Battlefront 2, but they just didn't take it. They just threw it together a single player campaign just to say that they have one in there.
Yep.
And they didn't really, I mean, they may have fixed the multiplayer stuff by, polishing some of the combat and giving better attention to detail, but then they just go around and do the loot box system. And I mean, again, I'm not saying this is all 100% DICE's fault. EA obviously had some say in this, but I wish EA treated the Battlefront game the same way that they treated Titanfall 2.
Yep. But you know what always gets treated well and doesn't have any loot boxes?
I would love to know because I like hearing about good things.
DreamHost. Their web service offers unlimited storage, unlimited bandwidth, user-friendly interface, and they're optimized to use content managers such as WordPress. You know what a WordPress is, right?
I do.
Yeah, and it's awesome. Easy to use. Like one of every 7 websites on the internet is powered by WordPress. Um, and many more features before net neutrality collapses and we have no internet. all that just for $7.95 a month. If you use the promo code for this end of year special, if you use the promo code out of continues, that's one word, no spaces, or waive away the set fee, get your free domain registration. So, quick announcements. We can use more iTunes reviews. If you use iTunes, please leave a review. It's one of the single most helpful things you could do for the podcast. If you have an iPhone and you're listening to us on your iPhone, you could leave a review. It'll really help us out. If you don't have iTunes for whatever reason, there's plenty of good reasons why you don't use iTunes. You can still help us out by sharing the podcast on social media such as Facebook, Twitter, Reddit. Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell your mama. Hi, listeners, mama. And yeah, it would really help us out. Anyways, let's start talking about some news. Let's go into the news. I'm gonna screen share in a second, and there we go. We're doing some news right now. On the topic of these loot boxes, Apple, they now require games with loot boxes to disclose odds. So Apple released this official developers guidelines, which if you go to it, it's like super long. You'd probably be spending days reading through this. I don't know, maybe a day reading through this. But anyways, one of the things that they added is that apps offering loot boxes or other mechanisms that provide randomized virtual items for purchase must disclose the odds of receiving each type of item to customers prior to purchase. And I'm assuming that means prior to purchase of the loot box. So, I mean, this article has a picture of a pack from Hearthstone. So I'm assuming that once I mean, now that this is implemented, I'm assuming on the iPhone version of Hearthstone, it'll give you like a percentage of what a certain legendary item is going to appear, like 2% chance of you getting a legendary item.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So this is basically like the industry trying to self-regulate itself. Apple trying to regulate themselves. Maybe I don't know if there's gonna be like other regulations with like Steam or uh PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. Nintendo doesn't have loot boxes. Um, Android. I don't know if there's gonna be like the other ones following suit or not, but um, personally, like with this type of issue, the whole loot box issue, I don't think self regulation is gonna be um the solution. Um, like I think the industry has tried to self regulate itself for a long while, and it's it's more of a conflict of interest where the ones that are like profiting off of it are trying to self regulate.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? And I don't think that's I think it's a more of a conflict of interest for them to try to self-regulate, and obviously, like with them self-regulating this entire time so far, it's the industry always finds a way to like come up with a new thing that exploits consumers. Um, I don't know. I think at a certain point we need some government regulation, and while this clearly isn't the same thing as gambling, I think there are some parallels to it. There are some clear similarities between the two. And there is a lot of my opinion is that there's a lot going against the customer, the consumer. Like all these companies, they have like psychologists that they have hired on their team to try to figure out like what's the best way to make this as addictive as possible. And I don't know. I my personal opinion is that there should be some government regulation. Um, Yeah, just want to make that clear. My opinion, not my employer's opinion. So what do you think, Kevin?
I think it's a good step for. Well, okay, so it's going to be. I think this is something that Valve might want to consider adding uh to their games as well, like to their store pages or whenever something in a game has loot boxes. But the thing is that the app stores are completely different uh, than like PC games, or you like I guess console games are more closely related to mobile games in the fact that the platform owner regulates the sales.
Hmm.
So like in the case of Xbox and PlayStation, any game that goes on sale there has to go through an approval process through Microsoft and Sony. Um, and it's the exact same thing on mobile, where anything that's being published uh, on for the App Store for iPhones has to go through Apple. And even though Android doesn't have as much of like a closed system as Apple does, they still have guidelines and um, terms of service that the Google Play Store requires certain apps to be under.
Hmm.
So through some level, mobile games and console games are very similar in how they're sold. So things like loot boxes, the way it's also just how the sales are processed. So like if you're buying a game, if you're paying for a loot box in a mobile game, it's going through the Play Store or like through the App Store.
Hmm.
In the same way, if you're paying for a loot box through a console game, most likely it's going through the console's store system. But
Hmm.
it's very different on PC games just because of how unregulated and uncontrolled the PC game market is. Because like even if you buy a game through Steam, it's not the payments for in-game stuff aren't always going through Valve's system. There are some games that do, but not all of them make use of in-game sales through.
Yeah, very rarely do I see a game that has like the microtransactions as part of the Steam store. I mean, they
Yeah,
do exist, but very rarely do I find those.
yeah. So it's much harder to have that kind of oversight on PC games, but I think this is a good start where the the chances and the odds of certain items being uh, randomly rolled through loot boxes is a good way. I think that it's important to have those percentages displayed uh, to the purchaser, to the consumers, and I think it should go beyond just Apple's App Store. I think Google should do the same thing with their Play Store, and I think console, both Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo should consider this as well.
Mhm.
Uh, and I don't know how it's going to be though. For it's very hard to come up with something like this for PC games just because of how sales are handled there. Um,
Yeah, I mean, like the thing is, at the very least, with all this happening, um, publishers are hearing that consumers don't like this.
yeah,
Um, and I think at the very least they're getting scared at the point, where they don't want to implement this anymore. Um, Unfortunately, though, I think the wrong people are getting scared. Like some smaller indie developers who make games that solely rely on the microtransactions and loot boxes. They're now pulling the loot box systems out. Like, I think the developer Playsaurus or something like that. They're the ones that make Clicker Heroes.
mm,
That's like a free to play game, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna pull out um uh the loot boxes because we don't want to take advantage of people." It's like I feel like that's a completely different situation where it's like an indie developer that's completely relying on microtransactions compared to a AAA game that's sold at full price and has microtransactions and loot boxes on top of that.
yeah,
That's like those are like two different beasts. And if the AAA game needs to make more money because the $60 doesn't cover the cost of the game, um, there should the I think the executives should reevaluate like what they should do to make up that cost. Maybe games should be $80 instead of 60.
yeah. And I was just about to say something like that, where I support the idea of the base price of games going up. I know that's going to be a very um, unpopular thing when that does happen, just because I think games have been at $60 for a very long time. I don't
Yes.
I don't know how quickly games in the past went up in price. Because if you consider inflation, prices for games is actually a lot cheaper now than it used to be.
Yeah. So the thing is with the prices of games, during like the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era, 50 was the norm. That was the full price game. And then starting with the 360, it went to $60 and people flipped out. Though before, like one generation before the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era, um games were all over the place. Like there
Yeah.
was no like $50. Like there were games that were $60, 70. There was even $80 games on Nintendo 64. Like there was no like flat rate for the um full price AAA game.
Hmm.
Um I definitely remember there was like $80 game. I think Conker's Bad Fur Day was an $80 game.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's kind of the new price standard is just a product of the gaming industry becoming big. Like it's
yeah,
now an industry that's recognized, as opposed to back then video games weren't seen as like a legitimate. I'm not. I don't want to say that they weren't seen as a legitimate industry, but it wasn't industrialized
yeah.
at that point. Like
Also, back then, $80 was worth way more because due to inflation.
yeah. So now that games are also just becoming a huge market, I think that a price increase is not going to be the worst idea,
Yeah,
um, and that should potentially help with a lot of the costs that these developers be having issues with. Although I don't know if none of them have been really open about why they sell loot boxes, and it's obviously because of more money, but we don't know if it's that they are trying to cover costs that they're falling behind on now because of inflation, or if it's just greed and wanting to increase their profit margins just for the sake of increasing profit margins.
yeah,
So we don't really know the real reason. Maybe it's a combination of both reasons, um, and so we don't have like a definitive answer for that. But yeah, and I think increasing the price of games is a good start. And I also think that maybe we shouldn't have um, a standard price for AAA games. I mean, if you look at indie games, there's a wide range that a lot of games operate at. I
yeah,
mean, you'll have some indie games that are full price is $5. You'll have some where full price is $40, and it really just depends on the type of game, how long it is, what kind of message that they're trying to convey, and that dictates the price. And I think AAA games should follow that same model, where you have games like um, maybe games like the Elder Scrolls series or the Witcher games, or these huge RPGs like Divinity. Like maybe those should be more expensive because they provide more than 150 hours worth of content. And then games like, I mean, I guess games like Call of Duty could argue the same thing because a lot of people put a lot of time into the multiplayer.
yeah.
It,
I mean, I think it also depends on like the budget of the game. Like I mean, a 2D side scroller like Shovel Knight, like what did that release on? Like $25, I believe. Um, or I mean, Cuphead was like $20 brand new.
yeah,
But then there's other games that are like 3D, um, like Hellblade's $30 brand new, and there's like
mhm,
another game called the Surge, um, which also looks really great, and it's a 3D game, and I think that was like 35 when it first came out. So like it depends on like the budget and um but
yeah,
yeah, like I totally agree with what you're saying is that you know indie games there's no like all indie games are $20. That
right,
doesn't exist with indie games, and maybe we should have the same with the AAA games, depending on if the game has uh only single player, only multiplayer, or if it has both single player and multiplayer. Um, like how long are they going to be uh putting out updates for the game? Um, things like that.
yeah,
And I people are already spending like $90 on new games anyways because of like you spend $60 on the base game, 30 on the season pass plus tax, so that's like 100 something dollars. um so seeing the price get bumped up to like 80 or $90, I don't think it's unreasonable. If you got like the same thing out of the game as like if you're like buying the game and the season pass. It would be more straightforward than for the game to be like, oh, here's the game, but it's only part of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else on this one? Should we move on?
No, we can move on.
All right, let's talk about your buddy, your main man, Geralt of Rivera.
Yep, that's exactly his name, Geralt. That's
Geraldo Rivera.
He likes to go by Gary.
No, it's Jerry.
Gary.
Jerry. So yeah, so a Witcher TV show is headed to Netflix, and now it is reportedly found a writer. Variety reports today that Lauren Schmidt Hisrich, who wrote for Marvel TV shows The Defenders and Daredevil, as well as political drama The West Wing, has joined the Witcher TV show as its writer. This has yet to be officially confirmed, however. So I had never watched The West Wing, but I've heard that people love that show.
Yeah.
Daredevil, amazing. Defenders, bleh. But yeah, Witcher TV show.
Yeah, so just the fact that they're getting a pretty decent writer and gives me a little bit of hope for this. I was being cautiously optimistic about this, and I still am cautiously optimistic, just because a lot of video game to film or TV adaptations don't do a very good job, and then also now that this is just one of my top franchises and games, I'm hoping that I was being very cautious about whether this show was going to be good. But
who are you casting as Geralt?
I have actually never given that any thought. Let me get back to you on that.
Mads Mikkelsen.
No, I don't.
No?
Maybe I don't know.
See, now that you let that simmer for a second, you instantly went from no to maybe.
Maybe I don't know yet. I'll have to think about that.
Hold on, let me see if I can.
He's a very good actor, and I think he's done a lot of roles that he's done a good job with varying degrees of roles, like not just portraying one type of character. So he's very versatile, but I would have to think about some other actors as well. But yeah, I'd say Mads Mikkelsen is probably a good choice, a good nomination.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, undo. Stop doing that. How's that?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I could see that happening. But I do want to look at some other actors as well and see what the other options are. But yeah, I think he could work.
What's like a Hugo? Hugo Weaving.
Can't remember what he's
from Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
Let me see if I can find someone doing an edit of him. Hugo Weaving as Geralt.
Geralt.
No one has done any sort of edit. No, I don't see one. I can see Hugo Weaving. I like him as an actor, and he has like a scary face. Um, no nominations from you for anybody.
Uh, no, I'd have to think. I have to think about some other options.
Some other
Yeah, I
options.
never actually. I know Hugo Weaving now that I looked at his face. It's just I couldn't think of his name. I couldn't attach the actor to the name, but
Just make
yeah.
him look like Elrond, and but with white hair and without the elf ears.
But I think one thing that's gonna matter a lot is Geralt's voice.
Hmm.
I think that whoever plays Geralt is gonna have to play his voice pretty accurately because I think that's one of the defining characteristics of Geralt. And if anyone does anything drastically different, it's just not gonna seem right. So I think that's gonna be a huge factor is can they accurately portray Geralt's voice?
Well, I know one person who's looking for work because he is no longer doing the show he was doing. So he can probably do this one. Kevin Spacey.
I don't know if anyone's gonna want
I wish they just recast him for um uh
him.
House of Cards. They just canceled that show.
Well, they're not canceling it. They're doing one more season, but it's going to be focused on Claire.
Oh, is that what they decided to do?
Yeah, at least that's what I
Okay.
last heard. I don't know if they changed anything since then, but
Look, the
uh,
last I heard, they just straight up canceled the show,
hmm. I
which
heard that they're doing one last season, but it's going to be primarily Claire.
oh, okay. Like, I mean, like, I don't think it would be like the worst thing ever to just recast him as somebody else.
Possibly,
I
I feel
mean,
like
it's gonna be hard to find someone who's like the same caliber of actor, but like, I mean,
I don't know. I think that would bring in too much disconnect, just because everyone when there's such a major character like that who is seen as he is the main character of the show. The whole thing is about him, and so
yeah.
he. I think if anyone were to come in and replace him, I don't think people would have enough suspension of disbelief to continue watching that show.
I don't know. I mean, like shows have recast people all the time. I mean,
Yeah,
uh, yeah. I mean, there's recasting is like not unheard of. So
yeah, it's not my favorite thing though, because I mean, imagine if halfway through Lord of the Rings, they just decided like if whatever his name is, I keep forgetting, but if they had just recast,
Aragon, Frodo,
yeah, like I mean Frodo, I forgot who is like his what his real name is, but like Frodo's real name, but if they just
Elijah
decided
Wood.
to cast him, like he's such a primary character that it would just kind of break the whole thing if they changed who he was, or like if Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe was just recast halfway through the movies. That because he's such a main character, it all relies on him being the same. So the only thing that they could do is because they started introducing Claire as a more prominent character, I I think it makes more sense that they're just gonna have something happen to Frank off screen, and then it's gonna be Claire the rest of the show. But
Oh,
off topic.
yeah. Let's move on. Let's talk about The Last of Us 2. So during the PlayStation experience, Neil Druckmann, who I have like said hi to at a restaurant, I walked up to him and said, "Hey, just want to let you know I'm a big fan," and I walked away because like he was eating, so I didn't want to bug him. Well, I didn't want to like be like, "Hey, can I get a selfie with you?" But either way, well, he laughed after I said that. But I didn't want to like bug them too much. But anyways, so because they're like a few blocks away from my work, so it's
Yeah.
not like um oh, I'm telling too much information now. Anyways, so a few things that they said during the PlayStation experience, and they said that anything can happen. Neither Joel or Ellie are safe. Either of them can die in the Last of Us 2. And he said that if you're a fan of the first Last of Us, the second one will probably make you mad. So sounds like either Joel or Ellie or even both of them will die. At least one of them is gonna die. Um, so yeah, that's what it sounds like. The way how he says if it's gonna make people mad if they're a fan of the first game. And a few other things that they mentioned. He said a large part of the game takes place in Seattle. Naughty Dog is about 50/60% finished with Last of Us Part Two. Actress Laura Bailey, who is a very popular actress. Like she's a voice actress. She's in a lot of stuff. And she's playing unnamed jacked girl. Says she feels like she wants to throw up every day on set because she wants to live up to the expectations. Um, I'm hearing a bunch of weird stuff coming from your end.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe it's my end. I'm hearing myself. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But anyways, fans of the first game might not like the sequel, says Neil Druckmann. We will forever continue to make single player, linear narrative based games, and also more details will be coming E3 2018. So maybe we might get like a release date, E3 2018, and maybe it might be a 2019 game.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's basically it. Do you have any opinions on any of that?
No opinions yet. Looking forward to it, and I do have an opinion. I do like the idea that if they are going to make it so that your choices affect who dies in the game, I think that's a cool aspect. Not a lot of games have decision based things that can affect the whole game. I mean, like the biggest one I can think of is games like Heavy Rain, where your decisions could get someone killed, but the game just goes on. And I think a few
Mhm.
Telltale games, like the Walking Dead games, do the same thing.
I
Um,
don't think that they're gonna go for that because of like how extremely linear The Last of Us was.
yeah.
Like they were telling a very specific story. And I imagine they'd probably do the same with this.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be interesting if they added like just something to break away from that linearity of the game. I think I said that word right. But I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, all their games have been extremely linear. They are telling very cinematic stories that have a directed plot. But if they do add some kind of choice in the middle of the game, which branches it, I think that would be a really cool aspect. Where it's like they're not necessarily making a RPG where your decisions are being made all the time, and it's not like a dialogue heavy game like Last of Us where you're making a lot of choices. But I think if they had one key aspect that branched the story maybe towards like three-quarters of the way through, I think that'd be an interesting little aspect to have.
You're gonna find out that Nolan North's pedophile character didn't die, and then you have to like choose to either kill him on the spot or not. And if you don't kill him, he kills you, and then you just play the rest of the game as him.
Right, spoilers.
Spoiler.
Well,
You heard it here first.
not gonna play it.
Nolan North. All right. Let's talk about Detective Pikachu, starring Ryan Reynolds. Now has a release date of May 10th of 2019.
Is Ryan Reynolds playing Pikachu?
Yes, no, he's playing a Detective Pikachu, different character. It's not Pikachu.
Yeah. I know.
It's not the Pikachu. So, they got Ryan Reynolds to do the voice, which a lot of people want Danny DeVito. And while he's definitely no Danny DeVito, I think Ryan Reynolds is a good choice.
Hmm.
Um, what do you think?
Um, I'm not very familiar with Detective Pikachu, so I honestly have no thoughts at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think Detective Pikachu is more of a Japanese character. Like I know about Pikachu is that Detective Pikachu is not Ash's Pikachu,
Hmm.
and it's a Pikachu that talks, and he wears a Sherlock Holmes detective hat, and
I need to like look this up.
yeah. So that's all I really know about Detective Pikachu. But yeah. Looks like other people that the film's producers were looking at were Hugh Jackman, Dwayne Johnson, and Mark Wahlberg. Um, that is that's quite a lineup of people that are like all completely different.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that these guys have in common is that they're like in action movies. Um, so yeah, I don't know. That's a very uh big lineup of characters or diverse lineup of characters.
Mm.
Um, so it says, the Detective Pikachu is based on the Japanese video game Great Detective Pikachu. The movie is being written by Nicole Perlman, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Alex Hirsch, Gravity Falls. So we got two good writers.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I was not aware that Detective Pikachu was a thing until I looked at the notes today. So,
Oh, you never even seen the thing with Danny DeVito's voice being voiced over?
nope.
You should. I'll send that to you later. But
Okay.
like, there's a video where people take like the Detective Pikachu trailer, um,
I think I was
which
just watching that.
yeah, the original trailer has a Japanese voice, and they just put like Danny DeVito voiceovers instead, and it's amazing. And
Yeah,
because of that video, like everyone was petitioning for Danny DeVito to do the voice.
makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, let's move on. Nintendo wants to ramp up its mobile game development apparently. So, the gaming giant failed to develop mobile games fast enough and is now trying to catch up, reports say. Basically, uh, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Nintendo wants to work with more mobile game developers other than DNA, which they own like 10% stake in DNA. And they want to work with more game developers to release more games after the company failed to get involved in the mobile game space early on. Um, the report claims that Nintendo spoke with Puzzle and Dragons developer Gung Ho about a potential partnership, though a spokesperson claimed no discussions ever happened with Nintendo. The two companies already worked together as some Mario characters showed up in the Puzzle and Dragons game for 3DS. There's no word on other companies Nintendo might have spoken with or will speak with about making mobile games. So one thing about Nintendo making the mobile games I've noticed, even though like other than Mitomo, which wasn't even a real game, um, uh all the other Nintendo stuff that's been coming out on Nintendo, on mobile devices have been very popular. Like people have been talking about them for a little bit, but the thing is, like, their games take forever to release. It's like as if they're working on actual AAA games, like Super Mario Run. That took forever for it to come out, and then when it came out, like people played it for a little bit, and then it took forever for it to come out on Android. And like I don't think anyone even played that one. Like two people. I played a little bit of it.
Yeah.
I didn't even pay for anything. I was like, ah, this is not even fun. I don't want to play this on a mobile device on touchscreen.
I think
Um,
I think they have more opportunities that they should be taking with mobile games. You see, I'm a big proponent for mobile games becoming more uh, resembling like AAA games a little bit more. I'm not. I like the idea of having mobile games because I don't think handheld console. I mean, the 3DS is still pretty popular, but I want to see more games like 3DS games on mobile. More full experiences as opposed to just time wasters. And I
yeah,
think Nintendo has the opportunity to do that. And now that they have the Switch, I don't know what their plans are for their handheld market, just because the Switch is essentially a handheld now that can also be played on your TV. And I think it's a handheld first, console second. Oh, I mean, like a stationary console second. And I think they should really play to that where instead, I don't know if they want what their plans are for 3DS. I don't know if it would make sense for them to discontinue the 3DS and to start putting all of the games that they would have made for 3DS onto mobile. Um, but I think they have the opportunity to do something with the mobile market and provide games that have fuller experiences as opposed to something like the Animal Crossing game where you're just, playing it every once in a while and then you're stuck with cooldown timers unless you pay for leaf tickets to instantly finish crafting or to replenish resources um, instantly as opposed to waiting for like 5-6 hours for certain things to come back. I think that if they made games like some of their like some of the 2D Zelda games that were optimized for mobile controls, I think that would be amazing. And they have
mhm.
the opportunity to do that. But I think from somewhere that I read, I think they said that any game that comes out on mobile is more just like a preview of what's to come on their main console.
Like imagine if they made like a $3 game that resembled Monument Valley, but it was Captain Toad instead.
Yeah.
You know, I like those type of game. I like Monument Valley. Like some of my favorite games on mobile are like Monument Valley, which is a $3 game. Reigns, which is like another like I think that was $3 as well.
Hmm.
And the new one just came out. Reigns, Her Majesty, the sequel just came out. You
Yep.
know, I instantly purchased that. Um, those are some of my favorite games on mobile where they're just a few dollars and they're just standalone, no extra costs. There's also the Go series, the Hitman Go, Lara Croft Go, Deus Ex Go,
Yeah.
and I think those are like $5 new, but like pick them up for like $1 each or something like that. Those are pretty good games. I mean, if they did more stuff like that, um, I'd be totally fine with that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think that's not the reason why Nintendo wants to get into mobile. I think they want to take advantage of like the whole like microtransaction craze. But yeah, should we move on?
Yep.
All right. Let's talk about Metal Gear Survive. So, we talked about this earlier when this got announced, and now we have like a video of the single player mode shown off in the trailer. Not even a trailer; it's just like a 5 minute gameplay explanation. Um, and basically the game is similar to other survival games, like Fortnite, where you're like crafting stuff and building stuff. The difference being that Fortnite has been in alpha and beta for like forever for balancing issues, and this is like coming out in February.
Hmm.
Like I've noticed that survival games, the most popular ones, were in like beta, or the beta testing for a really long time. Like Fortnite has been in testing for forever. Um, Don't Starve was in testing for a really long time before they officially released it, and that's also really popular. Um, Minecraft, going back further, Minecraft was in beta for a long time before
Yeah.
they, officially released it. So, I mean, my point being, survival games require a lot of balancing, and also they require a lot of testing to make sure that you have enough stuff to do.
Hmm.
And this game got announced earlier this year and is going to be released in 2 months. I have I have like no faith in this being actually good.
Yeah.
And people like Metal Gear for the story, especially the story involving Snake. Whether it's Solid Snake or uh Snake. And this does not include any of those characters that people like in Metal Gear, because it has some random uh white dude that like is the default on the character creator, and he gets sucked into a wormhole that takes him into another world, and then is surviving in this other world that takes place outside of Metal Gear Solid 5. So, um obviously has no connection with the story, and so why are people playing this game? If it's a Metal Gear game without the Metal Gear story, and it's not being developed by Hideo Kojima, and it got announced less than a year ago, and it's coming out in a couple of months.
Oh.
I have no faith in this game. That's the reason why I wanted to bring this up. When you watch this video, what were your thoughts?
It didn't really. When I watched the video, I didn't really get a Metal Gear vibe from it.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like they're using the name just for the purposes because it's popular,
Yeah,
and the game itself is could have been something completely different under a different name,
yeah,
but they're just hoping that because it's in the Metal Gear like the title is what's gonna sell the game, not the game itself.
yeah. Well, they also have like all these Metal Gear Solid 5 assets that they own.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, let's use this to make another game.
Mm.
What's popular right now? Survival games, I think. Even though survival games are popular like years ago, now it's battle royale games. That's the thing. See, they're already late on the whole like trend.
Yeah.
They're chasing an old trend. But yeah, I mean, like when I watched the video, it's like, oh, we're gonna craft stuff and we're gonna make this fence pop out of nowhere. So I was that's what reminded me of Fortnite,
Yeah.
like the fact that they're like building stuff, like building a fence and whatever. But
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. Overall, like I have no faith in this. Don't buy this game.
Not endorsed by Staffa.
Um, All right, Ghost Recon Wildlands. I can't remember. Kevin, did you say you played Wildlands?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay. I can't remember who said that they played Wildlands. But so there's an update that has Predator, like an actual predator from the movie Predator, and it's hunting you down. And it seems interesting, but I feel like they kind of like missed out on an opportunity, which is, I mean, this is not my idea. I heard this from another podcast and I was like, wow, that actually sounds really cool. And that is to like put out this update without actually telling anybody.
Yeah, I think
Like,
that would have been like a nice and a cool little Easter egg surprise type of thing.
I mean, like the first Predator movie, the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, like it starts off as like this military commando, buff dudes with big guns, both big guns and big arms, just going through a jungle killing dudes. Like it started off as that, and then it became like this horror movie where like this uh unknown creature was hunting them down. That was. I mean, have you seen the Predator movie?
Yeah.
Like it's a really good movie. I think it's one of the few movies from like that era that still holds up.
Mm.
Like it's a really good movie. Um but if they went with a similar route of like, you're just playing Ghost Recon Wildlands, you and your three buddies, you're just going around doing your military mission, and then all of a sudden like you see something like run really quick across the plane and like, what was that? And then it's like slowly like hunting you guys down, and then people will like go to Reddit or whatever, like, oh my god, you're never gonna believe what I just saw. And like that would have been way cooler than to like just come up with this press release and be like, hey guys, we got Predator. Have fun in the wildlands. I think that's a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Psychonauts 2 delayed until 2019.
Hmm.
So Kevin, your good friends at Double Fine have delayed a game that's highly anticipated by a lot of people. Um, do you have any opinions you have to share about this?
Uh, hmm. Can they please go back to actually making Space Base? I still really want them to make that game.
How many games have they canceled since like they started doing like this whole um crowdfunding thing? I mean, this Psychonauts 2 was a crowdfunding game, or is a crowdfunding game. But how many games have they canceled since then?
Actually, I don't know other than Space. I mean, I guess I don't know if from a technical standpoint, Space Base was not canceled, but from a practical standpoint, it was.
Hmm. Let's look up Double Fine wiki.
1.0 version of Space Base, but they essentially abandoned it and said, we'll let modders finish it for us.
This is a really weird chart of their games that they released. So, what is this? Psychonauts in Rhombus of Ruin. I have not heard of this game. It's a first-person virtual reality game. Okay, that's why I have not heard of it. Um, Headlander. What the heck is Headlander?
Oh, you haven't heard of this game? This one's actually
Yeah.
kind of cool. Basically, it's like a platformer, but it's a 2D platformer, and you play as a head in a like a it's like a head in one of those space helmets,
Uh-huh.
attach yourself to different robots, and so each robot has different abilities, and so you kind of go through the platforming and the puzzles based on which body you're using, and then you can always detach your head and attach to another robot to have different abilities. So it's actually kind of a cool concept, and I like the art style, but I haven't actually played it.
Massive Chalice was a game that they released too early.
Oh, I forgot about that game.
Like right here, it says, sadly, the Chalice never really reaches the massive potential suggested by the title. Um, most of these are remastered, like Grim Fandango remastered, Day of the Tentacle remastered, Full Throttle remastered. Like they're just doing a lot of remasterings. You got Space Base. Is Costume Quest 2 like a complete game? I don't know. Maybe. I remember with Broken Age, though people really like Broken Age, like um they delayed the crap out of that game. And then they're like, "Oh, we're gonna release the first half of the game, and then release the second half a year later." And Broken Age was the one that was like the first like Double Fine game that they uh used crowdfunding to do.
Mm.
I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of people give Double Fine a pass. Um and they give Tim Schafer a pass because they really like him, but they delay and cancel so much stuff and release stuff unfinished.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you don't point out these things and like and give them a pass for everything, you'll just end up being like another Peter Molyneux.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, but yeah, Psychonauts 2 getting delayed till 2019, even though it's supposed to be a 2018 game, and um it's crowdfunded. So yeah, let's talk about some movie stuff. Ready Player One, based off the book Ready Player One. That's I think it came out like 2001 or something like that.
Yeah.
Very
Wow.
popular. Well, 2001, maybe 2011. I don't know. I think it was 2011. I don't know. I'm making up stuff. We can fact check this right now.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
The book 2011. Yes, I missed a one. So, anyways, Ready Player One, based off the book. They have a trailer out right now. You can watch it. Um, there's a lot of uh IPs in the trailer everywhere, like Ryu, Chun Li, Blanca, um, Tracer from Overwatch, the Iron Giant, the DeLorean. There's all like every scene has like a million different um cameos. What are your thoughts on this? Did you read the book?
I have not yet read the book, but I do really want to. And I'm interested in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
but I have some reservations. I mean, again, it kind of goes back to my thoughts on just how video games are adapted into movies, and I have a bad feeling about this one.
Mm-hmm.
But I am hoping it's good because I know the premise of Ready Player One, and I like the idea a lot. I hope they can do a good job with the movie, but I'm probably gonna wait to watch the movie until after I finished reading the book.
So I started listening to the audiobook recently. I'm like on chapter 7.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many chapters there are, but um so far like it's been a lot of setup of the universe, set up like how the world works, and other than that it's a bunch of references to 80s stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like the writer of the book, grew up in the 80s and just wants to like reference a bunch of stuff from the 80s. So the premise, like that you can tell from the trailer, I'm not spoiling anything because it's in this trailer right here.
Yeah.
The dude who made the Oasis, which is this virtual reality, basically it's the new internet. Um, he dies and he has a video that he shares with all the Oasis users, saying that he hid an Easter egg in the Oasis, and the first player to find the Easter egg um, basically is the new CEO of the company that owns the Oasis. So it's very similar to like Willy Wonka,
Yeah.
looking for the um, golden ticket, except this one's more specific. It's more of a like a hunt rather than like a lottery.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the premise. And like the main character, I don't even remember what his name is because they don't really say his actual name often in the book. Like they refer to him by his like, oh wait, it's Wade Watts. Yeah, Wade. So Wade, like he is very into 80s stuff because even though this movie takes place in like 2045, he's really into the 80s because of the fact that the guy who made the Oasis is, um, he grew up in the 80s and is really into it. So he's like trying to get into the same stuff that he was into so that he can like understand his brain and figure out the riddles. But I don't know, like it doesn't seem very believable for someone in the future to be like so into like the 80s. I mean, like people right now aren't even that into the 80s. And that would be like saying someone right now would be into like stuff in the, in the 60s or whatever, or the 50s, which I mean there are probably some teenagers that are kind of into it, but none that will like watch like every show from the 50s and every movie from the 50s, and you get what I'm going with.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of hard to believe that someone like in the future is like so into the 80s. Also the kid in this trailer is too skinny. Like they straight up say that he's fat in the book.
Yeah.
Like he says he's overweight because of the fact that he spends most of his time in the virtual reality, and he watches all these TV shows and watches all these movies and plays all these games from the 80s. So, like, considering that he spends all of his time doing all that, um, he is not doesn't do much physically. He's not very active, so therefore he's fat. So I don't know. He's a bit too skinny in this trailer. They should have got someone fat. Why they fat hating? Get a fat actor. Come on now. There's plenty of them. Not everybody needs to be good looking in the movies. I don't know. But overall, like I'm listening to the book. It's a lot of references, a lot of setup. Maybe I'm not that far into it, but I'm waiting for the book to get good. I don't know. I'm not really digging it too much.
Mm.
It's too many references, not enough actual plot. I don't know. Um, I've and because of that, I've kind of got less anticipation for the movie. Like watching the trailer, I was like, "Oh, this seems cool," and now listening to the book, it's like, "Oh, I don't know if I got that much hype for it now." But I'm not gonna stop you from listening or reading the book or whatever. Go ahead, do
I'll
that.
get around to it eventually. I think maybe sometime next year, early next year.
Next year? You're waiting so long.
Gotta wait the whole rest of the year.
Yup. All right, let's move on. Not really video game related, but it's like I don't know, related to my interests. Disney has bought 21st Century Fox for $52 billion. So that's not all of Fox. That does not include Fox Sports, Fox News. It doesn't include that stuff, but it includes like FX, FXX, Nat Geo. Also they have like a majority share of Hulu now. So because like Hulu was owned by um Disney, Fox, and someone else. I can't remember who the third one is.
Hmm.
But yeah, now they have majority share of Hulu, and Disney has been wanting to do like their own video streaming service. So now that they own Hulu, pretty much they're probably going to rebrand it as like Disney Streaming. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, they're gonna have like all the X-Men characters back. They can finally join the MCU, which I mean, like the MCU already has a billion characters. It's I don't feel like the MCU is missing the X-Men. Um, if anything, like I've already said on the podcast before, I feel like at least uh Fox, they've been doing more risks with what they've been doing with
Hmm.
the X-Men rather than what Marvel has been doing with the MCU. I mean, like you have Logan, which was a Western movie. Um, Deadpool, which was an ultra violent comedy. Um, you have Legion, which is a psychological thriller. Um, the New Mutants, which from the trailer, it looks like it's gonna be like a horror movie. Not gonna say it's gonna be good or bad, but at least it's something different.
Yeah.
Um, so at the very least, like they've been doing different stuff. They've been taking risks. Um, and at least Disney said that they are open to R-rated movies. So, over here in this other article, like Ryan Reynolds he's been pretty much outspoken about what's going on with Disney buying Fox, and they said that okay, it's they're open to do rated R movies, and like here's him tweeting a picture of Deadpool getting escorted out of Disneyland.
That's
um so like he wrote on Twitter, he's like, I wonder how the fudge it would affect Deadpool. And then after the purchase, he was like, time to uncork that explosive sexual tension between Deadpool and Mickey Mouse. So at least they're not canceling the movie.
yeah.
Um, so that's good. I mean, definitely looking forward to Deadpool 2, and
Hmm.
it would kind of be a bummer if they canceled that.
Yeah.
Um, Not sure if they want to like throw him into the Avengers or not though. Because it's gonna be really weird as to like um how they would like jam him in there, considering that he's part of the X-Men universe, and like they definitely don't want to make the X-Men universe canon with the MCU
Hmm.
because of how convoluted the X-Men universe movies has been. Like the X-Men universe can't even keep track of the X-Men universe.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they start throwing in X-Men characters, they will definitely be recast. Um, I mean, obviously, like Quicksilver is not going to be the same Quicksilver from. Well, first of all, they killed off their Quicksilver in the MCU, but like obviously, due to Quicksilver in the MCU being a different actor from the Quicksilver in the X-Men movies, they're obviously not going to like throw in those characters. I don't think they're going to throw Magneto in there and he's going to start talking to Scarlet Witch saying, "Oh, my daughter, I haven't seen you forever. I was in the other universe." The X-Men universe. So that's obviously not going to happen, but um I mean, other than the X-Men stuff, like Disney wanted Fox because of A New Hope, Star Wars: A New Hope, because 21st Century Fox owned the license for that, so Disney couldn't like make the remastered original cut or whatever they want to call it, the Disney cut.
The Disney cut, yeah.
Yep. So I don't know. This is I mean, overall, like they're gonna be able to open more doors to do more things, but like I think this is not a great move um for the fans. Like it's or the consumers. It's gonna be they're becoming more of a monopoly. Um I mean, like I saw someone post a meme about like uh they purchased LucasArts and they purchased Pixar and they purchased uh 21st Century Fox and they purchased Marvel and then they're gonna like purchase all of these other studios as well in the future, and then they're gonna try to purchase WB and then like WB will say F you and then after that it's gonna be a war. So they're becoming too big, and when a corporation becomes too big, it it's never good for the consumers. Like corporations, when they become so big, they're less run by humans and more by policies, and you know they make decisions for the better of the shareholders rather than for the better of the fans. So I don't think this is going to be good in the long run, but that's my opinion. What do you think, Kevin?
I think they're definitely getting big. But I I've been I know like Star Wars has been pretty controversial recently with this new release, but I've been pretty happy with what they're doing with the Star Wars universe. Overall. I mean, obviously there's a few things here and there that I don't agree with. Um, and I think as long as they keep I mean, as if they keep the fans and the consumers as a priority, I don't have an issue with them getting big.
I
But
don't think they are going to keep them as a priority.
yeah, and that's the big concern. And if they start to head in a anti-consumer direction, then I definitely will be arguing against the expansion of Disney. But at the moment, I don't have a huge issue with them, but that could change very easily within the next couple years. I mean, it could turn on a dime, and they could start making decisions that affect the quality of their products and their whatever they're doing. But only I think time will tell what their plans are.
Yep. I think yeah, only time will tell. You're right, but I'm afraid that they won't keep the fans as priority. Um, yeah, let's move on. Speaking of Marvel, Punisher season 2 has uh has been confirmed.
Yeah,
Have you watched Punisher?
I have.
What'd you think?
I like it.
Yeah, it was good.
Liked it a lot.
Um, I do like the fact that they kept his uh like they kept his what's the word, like it wasn't really a villain but more of a threat. Like they kept his threat more grounded,
Hmm.
and I think that works best. That has been working the best with the Netflix Marvel series so far, like
Yeah.
keeping a more grounded threat rather than the Hand.
Yeah.
The Hand has been the stupidest thing. Well, the Hand and Diamondback and Nuke, all those are stupid. I mean, like Purple Man has also been like less grounded, but at least he worked really well. He was really good. But I mean, as long as they keep like a grounded villain, grounded threat, um, yeah, more Punisher. The only thing I didn't like about Punisher is I feel like it was too long. It was like 13 episodes. I think it could have been 10 episodes if they cut out like the Homeland Security portions.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that a couple episodes ago.
Like they just weren't interesting to me. What do you think?
I definitely agree that it was a little long. I didn't have too much of an issue with the Homeland Security sections, um, but I feel like there were a couple episodes that ended almost as if they were the end of a season,
Hmm.
and then they just the next episode continued, and so it felt like they should have maybe changed. I don't want to specify too much detail exactly what happened because that gets into a little bit of a spoilers, but um, yeah, it just felt like there were a couple episodes where the endings seemed like season endings, not
Hmm.
episode endings, and so I think if they just reworked some of the plot, but overall, I really enjoyed it, and I like that they went with. It kind of goes back to what you were mentioning with the previous topic about how Marvel is going to potentially still like they're still considering rated R movies, and I feel like The Punisher was a uh, even though it's not managed by the same people who do the cinematic universe,
Yeah.
it it definitely didn't feel like a a Disneyified show.
Yeah, I mean, like they, I mean, not only was the violence way more violent than usual, like just very bloody and graphic, but the sex scenes were like a few notches more gratuitous than what they usually have.
Yeah,
Um,
like they weren't just suggested sex scenes; they were.
yeah, like you can tell, like that dude was on top of her behind. You can see their skin connecting.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like Game of
they
Thrones
they
level, but
did.
it definitely wasn't subdued at all. It wasn't like, oh, they're kissing and now the door is going to close or anything
Yeah,
like that.
like
It was they were showing.
they
Uh,
didn't give much room for the imagination.
correct. Yeah.
Like you know what's happening.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, like even though I complained that the show was a bit too long, I never felt like an episode ended and I was like, "Oh, uh that was so slow. I don't want to watch anymore." Like every
Yeah.
time an episode ended, I wanted to watch more because they ended each episode well enough for me to say I want to see what happens next.
Yeah. I agree.
So like yeah, it was too slow, but they still like ended each episode in a way where I wanted to keep watching. Um, Also, Micro's son needs to get slapped.
I know. Seriously.
Like, he needs his bottom to be whooped.
Yeah.
It's like, don't lie to him. Don't say it's okay. He's the one who screwed you guys over. It's okay. No, it's not okay. It's your fault. You did this. But yeah, that's pretty much it as far as news and everything. Hello, I'm back.
Hey, welcome back.
All right. So, anyways, um, we have no listener feedback for the year. So, no, we have cut off listener feedback submissions for the rest of the year. No more listener feedback. But if you want to write in for next year, you can write into podcast@outofcontinues.com. If you enjoy what you've been hearing, you support us by liking us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, leave an iTunes review, subscribe to the Google Play Music, or you can contact us by email. Ooh, excuse me. By email, that's podcast@outofcontinues.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/outofcontinues. And all those things I just mentioned, they're on the website. That's www.outofcontinues.com. Thanks, everybody, for a wonderful year of 2017. So many games I didn't get to play. Hopefully 2018 I'll probably have less time. Realistically, I'll have less time to play games in 2018 due to work. But I don't know, maybe I'll get to finally announce what we're working on in 2018. Maybe. Unless I end the podcast before then. Which that's totally a possibility considering how busy I'm gonna get. I might not be able to do a podcast anymore in 2018. So we'll see how that goes. Thanks for all the support and sticking around with us for 2017. And thank you, Kevin, for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you, Stuffa, for having me on your podcast for another year.
Yeah. And with that said, I'm your host, Staffa. I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Next year. I'll see you guys next year. Bam. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you click here to subscribe. Click there for the previous episode and click there for the episode before that. Bye.